Hey, everybody, welcome. And I'm here with Natalie. Today we're going to talk about infiltrators. I'm Karen McMullen, and this is another wake up call from our wake up call series. So, what is an infiltrator, according to you? What's your definition of an infiltrator?
Good question. Got me on the first one. Okay. An infiltrator is basically, there's a whole spectrum of interference, let's say, in the human experience. And I'm going to offer this definition in the context of what's happening for humanity right now, which is we're moving from 3D to a fifth dimensional consciousness. That means that we are moving to a higher frequency of love and unity, inclusiveness, love for all. So moving away from competition and fighting each other to realizing that if you lose, I lose. And that if you thrive, I thrive. It's that consciousness that we're moving to. So that is a higher level of purity to the love that we've lived with on this planet. So that purity has a counterpart. So if you imagine the purity is light, then its counterpart is dark. So the two together are required for us to move to a higher frequency, to purify ourselves. We need impurities to purify our energy fields, our bodies. So we're using those impurities to raise our vibration. So what is happening on the earth right now is as we're going through this massive acceleration of consciousness, there are more impurities coming into the human energy fields and into the magnetic field of the earth. And they can come in many forms, and I'm calling them infiltrators. Infiltrators are designed to interfere with that purity and lower the vibration of that higher frequency that we're moving to. So they can come in the form of devices or implants that are placed in the energy fields and the bodies of humans.
So they're not physical devices, they're non-physical devices?
They're non-physical devices, and so they can't be seen. And I will remind you that we are moving to Age of Aquarius, which is working with the unseen. What cannot be seen is part of our reality and has to be part of our reality now. Hence the whole talk about ETs and aliens and whatever. It's all being exposed. We're now expanding our consciousness to go, we need to include other life forms in our awareness now. We can't be blind or have our head in the sand about us being the only race in the universe. So all of that is expanding our awareness. So we are now expanding beyond the physical and what can be seen to going, okay, I need to develop my superpowers, my ESP, so I can see the stuff that's going on beyond the physical seen tissue of the body.
What does ESP stand for?
Extrasensory perception. Yes. So ESP is going off the charts now, especially with the new generation coming through. Young children are so gifted in their ESP. So, you know, back in the 70s and 80s, it was like a novelty when, you know, you would come across someone who was that psychic, or they could move objects, or they could read minds, whatever. Now it's just, with this generation coming through, it's the norm. That doesn't mean they necessarily know how to wield those powers in this world, the way we live, and basically what is really quite traumatic for them. But they need to learn how to use those powers. They have them at their disposal. So yes, back to infiltrators, that's what they are. They can come in the form of non-physical interference that lowers the vibration that we are holding as humans and wanting to move towards that higher vibration. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's an amazing explanation. And it's congruent with my experience, but it's a new way of describing it, which I appreciate, because I hadn't thought of the impurities or those experiences of psychic interference as helping me to raise my vibration. But I know that that's true because every single time that I have those experiences of feeling that a negative, dark energy is trying to take me over, the only way that I can get out of that situation is to raise my vibration and to really evoke the golden frequency throughout my whole being. And it does not go away until I do that. It's really kind of black and white. It's very noticeable. It's like once I get there and I'm filled with the golden frequency, then I'm not infiltratable. But until I do that, I'm totally infiltratable.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Bingo.
So it's pointing out those weaknesses in my system, I guess.
Yeah. And that's what the golden frequency is when we combine the light and dark, we create gold. It's alchemy. Alchemy is, if you imagine a big mixing pot and you're putting ingredients in, you're putting light energy and dark energy, and you stir it all together and you make gold. And so the gold is the embodied frequency of the fifth dimensional consciousness. That's what we're moving towards. So yes, we need those impurities to raise our vibration and become embodied at a higher frequency. So we need to be able to see this stuff and work with it. So that's why I call us golden warriors, the ones who are doing that alchemical process of going, I see the impurity, I see the infiltrator, you know, I'm going to take that in, so to speak, and use it to become stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I was sharing with Nat before we started the recording is that I've had the experience since I have become more sensitive, and since, you know, I channeled a couple books, which I feel has opened me up to thinning the veil between me and the non-physical. Yeah. And I've become way more adept at moving between those realms and perceiving them. And that's a gift, but the shadow side is that I'm also able to perceive those infiltrators. And it is really scary to all of a sudden have these perceptions that I wasn't able to perceive before. But I can't even say that, because actually what it reminded me of is my entire childhood. When I would go to sleep, I would feel these dark energies coming into me or around me in my room. And I would be so paralyzed in fear. And I would just be like, okay, I need to like make a beeline for my parents' room. And I slept with my parents many nights until in my teen years, because I was not safe alone in my room. And I didn't have any language for that, right? Until now. Mm-hmm. Until now, I'm going through the same experience as been in childhood of these really scary being alone in my bed and having these dark energies surround me, and I feel them trying to get in and trying to, I don't even know what, take me over, or and I feel that I can't go to sleep, because if I do, I'm being taken over. And staying awake keeps me from being taken over, but I'm completely aware of the energies. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, I'm very sleepy, so I want to go to sleep. So anyway, what I've been noticing is that if I get up, which I have done every time, because eventually I just can't, you know, like I've spent the whole night, like 6 hours just lying there waiting for the experience to shift. And it's not shifting. And I'm just like, oh, I really want to go to sleep, but I can't because of these energies. And when I finally do get up and I do the Golden Warrior activations, which is a process that Natalie shares in the True Ecosystem community. And I listened to one of the recordings, and it just walks through the process of creating alchemy in the body and coming into that golden frequency. And then the moment that I do that, those energies go away. So, or that it resolves. Mm-hmm. And what did I want to say about that? Oh, I just feel like now that's happened enough times that I don't feel as much fear, mm-hmm. because I know what it feels like to have these energies trying to infiltrate. I know that I can handle it. Mm. I know that I can, within my own self, access the tools and resources necessary. And even if I didn't have the recording, that I could do it. I have also just meditated and found that same frequency without the recording. So, yeah. So that's my experience. And then there's a whole other part of my mind that just says, oh, that all of that isn't real. So really non-validating of my experience. And I don't honestly know what that is. Like, I don't know what those experiences are. They might be infiltrators, I don't know. But I just know that I can't sleep because of this uneasy experience. Mm. Yep. And then I'm able to shift it.
Well, bravo that you can shift it through doing the Golden Warrior activation, because for those out there watching this, the Golden Warrior activation is about coming back to your center and the channel that runs between your sacral area and your heart, which is basically what connects you. It's your heaven to earth connection. So it's your soul connecting to your body and anchoring deep in the body. And so when we become susceptible to these energies, we lose that connection. We go into fear. All we need to do is come back to the body and feel centered in the body. It's really that simple, which is why what you're saying, meditation works as well, because it's about stillness and centering. As soon as we leave the body and we go out there, and there's God knows, it's fucking wild out there. So we have to come back here, so we are actually home in our houses and we haven't left the back door open for something else to come in. So when we are centered, we strengthen our energy field, most importantly. So we radiate out from our center and nothing can come in. But if we lose that center, it's all wobbly and there's holes in our fields, and it can be a free for all. So as children, we can very easily go into fear, because as children, we're not very embodied yet. We're still new in the body and we're not anchored. So we need that protection, like going into your parents' bedroom, that protection of other bodies, so that we can feel ourselves and that we're safe in our bodies. So that's really what it comes down to.
And would you say that there are certain people that are more likely to be infiltrated than others?
Definitely.
Like type?
So people who are ungrounded or not very earthy in their bodies, and people who spend a lot of time on technology, which we talked about last video. So yes, the more earthed you are, the more time you spend in nature, the more physical touch you receive, or physical sensation you feel in your own body, the more protected you are. Infiltration isn't actually possible if you are fully present. But how many people live fully present every moment of the day? We don't do that. So yeah, that's really what it's about, is being in your center.
And what are your experiences of infiltration?
Well, many and varied over the years. There are different levels of infiltration which come from different frequencies. So, something that's been around a long time and a lot of people are familiar with is the term psychic attack. A psychic attack is basically coming from the fourth dimensional realm, which is the astral realm. And in the astral realm, all of humanity's emotions basically and thought forms are floating around. And if there's something that resonates in you with a stronger thought form or emotional charge, it actually comes into your field and manifests as an attack, a psychic attack. So I've experienced many of those, and that's really working through, often it's karmic, and it's come from someone that you actually know or you've had a relationship with in the past. And that can be cleared through working with, well, what do I need to look at on an emotional level around this? So
would that be that someone had ill wishes for you?
It can be, yeah, it can be. It can be revenge. It can be, and usually what that boils down to is you feel guilty about something, or you feel like you haven't forgiven yourself for something. So you've actually opened up to that attack. So it can be, it can be something as simple as you walk into a room and your field is broken or open and anything comes in. And what breaks our fields is emotional wounding. So that actually leaves us susceptible. And this is what's trying to resolve in humanity as we move from 3D to 5D, is resolving some of those, well, all of those wounds eventually, so that we're not operating from a wounded state and we don't invite those fourth dimensional lower frequencies in.
Can you give an example?
Ooh, I haven't experienced this for a long time.
I have an example that might be one.
Sure, go for it.
So I had this friend. I met her through the internet. She's from the UK, and then she and I bumped into each other at a grocery store in Arizona. Mm-hmm. Crazy. And then we hung out and talked, and then I saw her on and off, or we would meet occasionally through the years. I got a message from her one day on WhatsApp saying, stop copying all of my work. She was just blaming me for that she had created a new website and that I had gone and copied what she was doing. And, I was not copying what she was doing. And I think that what she felt upset about was that I was promoting a dance retreat, a salsa retreat, and that I think she wanted or was doing salsa or dance retreats of some kind. So somehow for her that was copying. Mm-hmm. And then I felt, well, in the end, the dance retreat didn't work and it was a failure. And I felt kind of like she had cursed it. And I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I felt. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I wouldn't say that, well, this is going kind of off on a tangent because it's a big topic, but I wouldn't say that's necessarily a psychic attack. It simply can be the energy is not in alignment anymore, so it, in a sense, sabotaged the event. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a curse or a deliberate thing on someone's, intentional thing that someone has done. But, I guess the thing about psychic attacks is that they come into our fields and they basically stop us in our tracks. So we cannot move forward until we deal with the wound. And if you've been psychically attacked, there will be some wound of some kind associated with a person or not that you need to deal with so that you can move forward.
Is a psychic attack from a human, or is it just that you're being attacked by the thought form?
It can be, well, the thought form comes from a human, but it's not necessarily intentional. And that's, to me, where it sort of crosses the line into a curse or something of that nature, is where it is intentional. That's black magic. But a psychic attack is generally not that, or the majority of them are not that. Someone hasn't, sat in a room and gone, I'm going to do this to this person. So that's a different thing. But yeah, it's something that we are always empowered to deal with ourselves. We do not need to do anything or change anyone else to shift it. We just need to look at the wound that allowed it to come into our fields. It's really that simple. And so when you own the wound, you clear the wound and you move on. So that's kind of been around for, I don't know, like that's age old, the whole psychic attack concept coming from the astral plane. There is, and I'm only going to touch on this because again, another big topic. There is another form of attack, which I wouldn't call a psychic attack, which is coming from alien beings who are deliberately, in takeover mode, trying to take over humanity. And they're sabotaging this ascension process on Earth. So because they don't, they want the Earth, they want to take over humans as slaves. That's a potential at this point in time on this planet, because there are so many drones sitting on their computers and devices 24/7, disconnected from themselves and nature. And that makes us susceptible to takeover. And, these other life forces and beings go, awesome, we'll come in and we'll take your body because you don't want it. You're not using it, so we'll just control it. And so there are so many means for that to happen in our world now. So unless we actually come back to our bodies and our sovereignty, and you mentioned this before about the golden frequency, and when you're in a vulnerable state to these energies, what you're essentially doing is you're firing up your body and your life force and saying, no, you cannot come into my field. I own this space. And it's like burning off a virus, because humanity has been infected with a virus to keep us at this lower vibrational state of 3D. That's what's happened. That's what's kept us from moving to the unity consciousness, to a higher level of love. So firing up the body is saying no to anything that is not your truth. So that's really what it comes down to. Whatever kind of attack or whatever kind of lower vibrational energy is coming in or around you, that is the key. When you are fired up in your body, you have heat in your body, you are occupying your space. When you are cold, when you can't feel, or when you are detached from yourself physically or emotionally, it's like, cool. That's how things breed, because you're not conscious when you are cold. So we're all being challenged by this now to fire up, to heat up. Look, the whole planet's heating up. The temperature's rising. That is what is going on. Human bodies are rising in their temperature. We've moved from Pisces, which is earth and water, to Aquarius, air and fire. It's like, that's how we live now. That's the call, to fire up. Anyway, that's my thing on fire.
Listen, it's interesting because it's getting cold here where I live, and the houses don't have heating, and I'm finding that I'm cold a lot.
Yep.
Like my circulation, my feet, my hands, I'm just really cold. And that's been a problem for me. It's why I live in Mexico, because I don't have a hot body. Like, I don't eat well.
Yep. So if you don't heat well, there's a brilliant antidote to that. It's called ice baths.
Oh God.
It's brilliant for your circulation. It resets your whole system and your psychology around what is cold. Probably hot and cold is a human perception. We weren't born with clothes on, and people have lived in extremely cold environments with almost no covering. So, it's very much a psychological thing. So we want to mess all that programming up. Get yourself in an ice bath if you're afraid of the cold. That'll heat you up. You have to find your fire when you step into an ice bath.
So what do you How long do you stay in it?
2 minutes is apparently sort of the peak benefit physiologically. I normally stay in for 5 minutes, and that's plenty for me. And I will say it is not for the faint-hearted, and I find it extremely challenging. But the benefits are quite incredible. So
You fill the water, you fill the bath with cold water, and then you just add ice.
well, there's a few different ways of doing it. Obviously, if you live in a cold climate, go and swim in an ice lake. But if you don't, you can actually sit in a barrel drum and fill that with ice and a little bit of water so the ice can move. You can buy a chest freezer. So a lot of diehard people buy chest freezers and fill it with water and sit in it, like freeze it overnight and then smash the ice off the top and sit in it like glacial water. And the way I've done it is in recovery tubs. So obviously athletes do ice baths all the time after they compete. And so there are recovery tubs and you can sit 3 people in one of these inflatable tubs and have ice up to your neck. And that's really ideal because in a bath, it's too hard to get fully under the ice unless you're really right to the rim. So yeah, there's lots of ways of doing it, but I swear to God, it will fire you up because you have to survive in there. And that's been my experience is ice baths have made me find fire in my body that I didn't even know was there. So it plunges you into survival mode. And part of the reason why humanity is so asleep and we have a lack of fire generally and our bodies have gone cold is because we don't have to fight for our lives anymore. Everything's so comfortable. There's food accessible. We're not being chased by wild animals. Everything is so goddamn comfortable in our world now for many, many people in developed worlds. And so it's crazy what that has actually done to us and our survival instinct. The survival instinct is fire. So you need that when you're dealing with infiltrators. Otherwise, you're basically saying, oh, I'm a bit on the fence about how much I want to live or how much I want to occupy my own body. So yeah, you can come in.
So when you share these different types of infiltrators, so far you've said psychic attack and then alien beings in takeover mode. Based on what I shared about my evening experiences, what would you say that was?
I would say that's if it's just dark energy sort of around you, I would say in the majority of cases, it's just energies from the astral plane. Yeah. Yeah. So other forms of attack are more sophisticated and have an intelligence that is coming from off-world. So that's not my sense of what you experienced.
Okay.
Yeah. So
and then
in cases, that's what it is.
And then do you imagine that someone like me has also been under attack from the alien beings?
I think most of us are susceptible or vulnerable to it. What people don't realize, because when I say attack, I don't mean necessarily that you're going to go, oh my God, I'm under attack. It's not like that. It's far more surreptitious and clever. And that's what I mean by sophisticated. So through technology, first of all, we numb out. So it's basically we're being anesthetized first so that these, viruses or attacks or whatever you want to call it, infiltrators can come in because we're already half asleep. And when we're half asleep, we don't care. We're apathetic about life. We don't even realize that we're apathetic about life because we don't have to fight for anything. So when we're sitting in front of a screen all day, we're actually semi-anesthetized. And we don't even know it. Target. That's why I say people who live off the land and in nature and away from technology are far more protected because they're far more sensitive to anything coming into their fields because they're living in the frequency of the human body. Living in front of a screen is not the resonance of a human body. It's a dissonance.